83 days?
83 days in the end, hey?
83 days. That's like 3,000 kilometers.
No, it's like
Plus.
3,500.
3.5, 351 hours, I think it was. How do you feel?
Oh, I feel amazing now that I've stopped. It's been a few days since the Hardcore Harry's challenge ended, and I mean, things have settled down a little bit in terms of the body and the mind and stuff like that. I'm still pretty excited. I'm still getting back to all the messages people have been sending, encouraging how encouraging it was to get all them and stuff like that throughout the challenge. But now post challenge, it's been an absolute roller coaster trying to get to replying to everyone.
Well, how epic was it that you actually made it on a French sports trail running page with like over 160,000 followers? Like that was crazy. Because we actually had one of our followers send us a message. I didn't even see it. It just came up on like one of the general whatever Instagram sorts our messages into, and I clicked on it. I'm like, oh, that's got like 2,000 likes already. And I look into the account, I'm like, oh, that's 160,000 followers. And yeah, we had the whole European European nation onto you.
Oh, European continent, yes.
Yeah.
The funniest thing was when I woke up the next morning, I looked at my Strava and I had like 60 new followers. And all the followers, there were all these French names, and I'm just scrolling. I'm like, oh my god, all these French people have obviously seen this post that was on that Instagram post, and obviously started following. So all it was my Strava graph, and from 0 to pretty much 550 kilometers. So
it was pretty epic to see you among the names of like Courtney Dauwalter, Killian Jornet, and like their pictures were just above yours, and then yours is just below. I'm like, oh, he's so there
surreal.
with them.
Like, it's so funny because you live in this little bubble of thinking that you're just training and you're not really doing anything too dissimilar to everyone else. But the days started to stack up towards the end, and it ended up being this massive thing. We had so many people reach out, and just I just couldn't believe the response from people. People posting on our Strava and saying, keep going. The whole world's watching. I'm from Sweden, and it was just it was amazing.
Well, when I say the stats, over 3,500 kilometers, 351 hours ran, and what was it, 83 days in the end? What does that mean to you?
Oh, it means that I'm a completely different person. I am a completely different person to who's the guy that did that 1 kilometer on day one at 3:20 pace, and we had a good old laugh about it. You recorded it. It just means, to me, all those stats mean a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifice, not only by me, but from yourself and mum and Misha. Like, it's just so many. There were so many moments in those 83 days. I felt like I lived a lifetime in that time. And I mean, I'm super proud of the achievement and the growth that I got from it. I don't think people realize that the amount of time that I spent out there on my own, in my own headspace, you think about everything. You unpack everything you could imagine thinking about is. You do. You think about this, you think about that problem. After a while, there's not much to think about apart from what you're going to do. And it was really cool. So when I look back at all those days, what does it mean to me? It means that I just went through an amazing journey of almost self-discovery. It might have looked like an athletic pursuit from the outside, but on the inside, it was just turning me into this animal of a runner, of an athlete. I think that I've just got a new desire to push further and harder than what I ever have before in upcoming events.
What you're describing there is like so profound, and coming back to just mundane life. How does that feel, the transition? Because
life's not mundane. My life's not mundane. I think in
the world that we are in right now, it's petrol prices and everything.
Yeah. That's not mundane. That's expensive. But I look at coming back to normality. Obviously, I had to land at some point, and now that I have, I I can appreciate my life even more than what I already did. I mean, we live a pretty chaotic life as a family. We're always, chasing each other's, like everyone's chasing goals, and we're all supporting each other. And obviously, my 83 days out there at the Hardcore Harry's Challenge is no different to that. But it took up so much of our life, and it was funny because your mum said to me on day 82, we were just kind of laying together, and she says to me, this challenge has just turned into our life. And it was such a weird way of looking at it. I'm thinking, yeah, you're right. That's all we're doing now. Everyone is just supporting me in this challenge. And somehow it just crept into our lives slowly, 1 kilometer at a time, literally 1 kilometer at a time. It just became our day to day. I would come home, I'd dump my bottles. I'd go, Ollie, can you clean my bottles and fill them up for me? And then I'd wake up in the morning, there they are, all 8 bottles of Tailwind, all ready for me to go the next day. It was crazy. It was crazy how much it actually took over our lives.
It's an interesting thing because you mentioned it literally came 1 kilometer at a time, and how much of it's a perspective thing as well. It's like, imagine just going straight into day 82 and you just, all that workload placed on the family. How would they feel? Chaotic. Oh my God, end of the world. But because it was progressively introduced, it wasn't that bad. And it says a lot about life as well. It's an interesting and weird thing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, 100%. And that's, you hit the nail on the head, because I think that, I mean, this was a challenge, but I think there's a lot to learn from that. When something gets introduced into your life slowly and in small bite-sized pieces, it becomes your life. And I think we can learn so much from that when building habits and introducing something little in really small bite-sized pieces allows us to grow into the person that we really, really want to be.
I like that point because I've listened to a lot of podcasts. Like, I listened to the specific one, Diary of a CEO, when he had Chris Williamson on, and they really went into an in-depth conversation about goals and setting goals and how to break them down to the smallest bit, to the just literally walking out the door to get something from the shops, whether that be, if you say your goal was to journal every day, literally walking out the door is the first step.
Oh, yeah. So you look at day 1, it was 1 kilometer. So, and then day 2 was 2 kilometers, and really nothing changed from day 1 to day 2 apart from knowing that I've got to do an extra kilometer. But as you stack the blocks on top of each other and you get to day 20, and then you get to day 30, and then day 40, 50, 60, what happened was every single day, not only did the kilometers add up, but the routines and the little habits that you had to create around your running and the challenge, they are the things that got you to the next day, and then to the next day. And then, like I said to you, like, it was this journey that changed me as a person, because it allowed me to grow from day to day to day, creating all these new habits. And you fault find in such a way and problem solve in such a way to try and you want that thing so bad, and you want to stay in the game so bad, and everyone else is pushing so bad that you'll try and find whatever it is to get you to that next day, whether it's a little bit of extra massage, introducing an Epsom salt bath. It was so many things in the end that you created a routine, and it was almost perfection. The right time to go to sleep, the right time to recover with massage, the right time to take your protein shake, the right time to have a nap. Everything had to fall in line perfectly for the next day to be successful. And that's the biggest part of actually adding those little things into your life. It can swing the other way though too, because that's how bad habits get introduced into your life too. The one day you eat a little bit of, one donut, having a donut's not going to kill you, right? But if you have one donut today and then you have another one tomorrow and then and then you keep doing that, then you create a bad habit around eating or whatever it may be. So I think it goes both ways, but it's the being able to reflect and look at what you're doing and how you're doing it every day that allows you to become a better person. And like you said, with the journaling, that's one of the best ways to be able to reflect, because you're writing it down and then you can look back and go, oh, hell, I was doing that and I was doing that. I was lucky that I was in a time period of 83 days, so I could look back 30 days quite easily and see what I was doing compared to, what I was doing at the end.
Yeah, let's take it back a step and return to day 1 to day 20. What were you doing there? What was the goal around that to get through those days? And were they hard?
They were kind of. So we'd come out of Christmas. So we'd just come out of the Christmas and the festive break, and we were still having guests on our podcast. We haven't had a guest for a little while because it's like 8 hours a day of running. Actually left no room for anything else. But we were having guests on the podcast, so we were talking to them early in January. We were, so we were doing all that. And I mean, I've done, big weeks before, and they've been fine. Like even if at 20, so that's 160K week by the time you get to around day 20, maybe a little bit less. So I was just kind of trying to stay focused, trying to get back into training after the festive break. And it wasn't all that hard, I wouldn't say. It was just kind of getting into the flow of things. You knew that it was going to go deep, and people weren't dropping, and the Hardcore Harry's guys were giving updates about the challenge and saying, oh, we've still got 250 people left at I think at the 21 day mark or whatever it was. And I'm like, man, there is a lot of people still left in this. And people were just crushing it, and there was so much hype around it. All the Hardcore Harry's boys were actually doing it, or most of them were doing it. They were posting, and everyone was getting around. So it was almost like a backyard ultra, where at the start you're running with all these people. It's so exciting. It's so much fun because everyone's posting. Everyone's, oh, this person's still in it. This person's still in it. So it was a lot of fun, and it was good because I'm like, oh yeah, I've done this. This is familiar. I'm not in unfamiliar territory yet in terms of how many kilometers I was doing. So that kind of started later on when I got to the end of Jan. So
it was actually really fun to watch all the boys calling each other out. Oh, that was hilarious. And you got called out as well one time.
Yeah. It's funny. I look back now. I think day 15 I got called out to do a half marathon, which was an extra 6 kilometers. And I remember doing it and thinking, oh, I better not, I better be careful. That extra 6Ks, hopefully it doesn't cook me and, stuff me up for later on in the challenge. And now I look back, I'm like, oh my God, I made it day 83. That 6 extra kilometers wouldn't have made any difference.
Yeah. Do you think it's almost like just not overthinking things as well in life? Like, really, it wasn't that big, that 6 kilometers, because you can do 6Ks, and how far you got. Like it really doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. So what does that say about just overthinking things?
Yeah, well, it's you're nervous. I think it's the nerves that get you in those circumstances where you're not sure how long something is going to go for. You're not sure whether you're going to make it. You're not sure whether you're going to break down. You're going to get an injury. Something else might pop up. It's funny that you say day 20, because on day 20, your mum asked me to go. She bought a horse in Wollongong, and I actually went for my run on day 19. And that night I had to get up at midnight, do my 20 Ks, and go and drive for 12 hours to Wollongong, pick up a horse for your sister, and then drive back. I got back the day after at 1 a.m. So I almost dropped out of the challenge on that day. Had I not have got up at midnight after, I think I slept for 3 hours, got up at midnight, ran 20 Ks, and then we took off at 2:30 in the morning, and we drove to Wollongong, picked up the horse, drove back, and yeah, I got back the day after. So I wouldn't have made it past day 20.
Well, that was a little bit of a mouthful. Can you just give a little bit of not context, but a short, sharp summary of what you actually had to do?
Okay, so on day 19, I was walking out the door to go to work, and your mum turned to me and said, I need to go and pick up this horse from Wollongong. And I'm like, when? She goes, tomorrow. And I'm like, okay. So I rang my boss. I said, sorry, I can't make it to work. I went and got everything hooked up to the horse float. I went to bed at 8:30. I woke up at 11:30. I got ready at midnight and then ran 20 Ks and then did the journey to pick up this horse and come back. That took over 22 hours to go and get the horse to make it back the following day, which happened to be the half marathon day. So that was the only 2 spare hours that I had in that day. And if I hadn't have got up at midnight, I would have been out of the challenge on day 20.
That's crazy to think about.
I know, it's crazy when you think back then. And I thought, oh my God, this is the hardest thing ever, running 20 kilometers at midnight. But I got it done.
Did it get harder? Did it get harder? Now we're moving on to what, 20 to 40, let's say?
Yeah. So it did. It got really hard at the end of January. The 31st of Jan was when a lot of the serious competitors and a lot of friends had set the goal to stop at day 31. And I thought, okay, day 31, this is pretty tough. This is a 200-kilometer week. This is about where my limit has always been in terms of training blocks. So January 31st, I'm almost certain that it was a 200-kilometer week. And my mate Joel said that he's done day 31. And I remember talking to him on the 1st of Feb and saying, oh, how's it feel not to have to run? And he's like wrapped. And I'm like, oh, I got to go do 32 kilometers. But I went out there, obviously did it. But yeah, it was kind of when it started to get a little bit more serious, because back-to-back 30-kilometer days was starting to, one, it was starting to add up. And two, you started to get niggles. And that's when it was like battle stations for managing all that kind of stuff, because I was in unfamiliar territory then. I hadn't loaded my body to that point before. I didn't know what nutrition was going to look like. I didn't know anything. So, I mean, from the outside, it might have looked like I was in full control, but on the inside, I was actually trying to find ways to make sure that what I'd learned in 15 years of running would still be relevant when I went beyond 230, 240 kilometers.
A little bit of an insight. I actually went for a run with Dad on day 32. Probably the only time I actually completed a full run with you during the Hardcore Harris Challenge. And I remember you had a strategy of running 5 kilometers, 1 kilometer walk. And the 5 kilometers was a 5:15 to 5-minute pace. And I remember saying to you, I'm like, Dad, no, just slow it down, like calm down. And you were so strong at that stage that you just said, no, like I'm fine. Like it actually feels quite easy. So do you think as you progressed in days, the pace got easier?
I think that my fitness just went through the roof. I was doing that on day 30. But I looked back the other day, I was still doing the same thing at day 60. So I was still running at that 5-minute 15 pace and then still doing my 1 kilometer walk. And I couldn't believe how long I actually managed to keep that pace for. So I think even in the early 60s, I was still doing an average overall pace with the run walk of like 5:45, 5:50. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I mean, that's insane. Like I'd be wrapped if I had one of those runs, an out of the box run like that for a weekend where I said, okay, this is my weekend where I'm going to do a couple back-to-back runs. If I run a 50K at 6-minute pace, I'll be stoked. And I was running faster than that at 60K. So I actually couldn't believe what I was experiencing myself. I was thinking, well, I'll just keep pushing it. I'll see how long I can do this for. And it just kept on working. I kept on putting in the nutrition and I kept on getting the exact same output. But like I said, I had to refine. My recovery had to be perfect. My nutrition had to be spot on. My supplementing had to be spot on. I had to rotate my shoes correctly and all those kinds of things for me to be able to keep doing that day over day.
Yeah, so Dad's listing a couple of big topics that we're going to talk about later on. So stay tuned because we've got a lot of good insights.
Yeah, I definitely didn't just do it on pure grit, resilience, and motivation.
I didn't David Goggins it.
There were a lot of brands behind the scenes of, whether it be shoes, nutrition, all that kind of stuff that played into my success in this challenge.
It probably started to get a little bit hard, maybe 35 to 40 range, where I started going to school
Yeah.
and I wasn't there to help you out as much in terms of cooking you stuff as soon as you got home, giving you your shakes as soon as you got home. How did you tackle that challenge in terms of really having to do it by yourself?
Well, it's funny that you say that. So the first couple of days that, you obviously you'd gone back to school, I was thinking, oh man, this really sucks. I've got to do all this stuff myself now and it's not there. But I think, and this is like, we'll talk about it later on. It's kind of like don't quote me on that later on. And it's a theory that I come up with and I learned something that I learned. But what I found was that that was the situation that I was in, and I just had to deal with it. And I think that Merlin, who was, you could call him the assist, I suppose, in the challenge, the guy that comes second, he was almost in the exact same situation as me, where things just popped up, and you can either get upset or frustrated at that thing, or you can just say, well, this is just the obstacle in front of me that I need to overcome to get my goal. And it actually serves no purpose to get frustrated or emotional or any of those things. So, yeah, it was really nice when I'd come home and you'd made me some pancakes or some French toast or got my shake ready. But when you went back to school and that wasn't happening, or no one was home to help me out with that, well, guess what? I've got two arms. I can do it myself. And I did. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just do that. So obviously it got a little bit harder as the challenge wore on, but we just adapt and we overcome. And I mean, that's, if you want something bad enough, then you'll do anything to get it. And if that means, going, all right, well, I'm gonna have to do this myself this time, then I'll do that. And as the challenge wore on, that's what ended up happening. I just said to myself, well, okay, I'll just do that stuff myself.
What was one thing you were willing to sacrifice the most, though?
Well, this is a hard one because I actually started to feel a little bit guilty that I was getting close to the time when I would have to take time off work. So whilst in the background on the reels and stuff like that, a lot of the time it was being mentioned that he's got a full-time job, he's working, this and that. So I tried to stay at work for as long as possible, and I stayed at work till the early 60s. I think I ended up having to take 3 weeks off work to make the challenge happen and for me to finish it off. And I was willing to take enough time to get to 100. But the thing was that I actually felt a little bit guilty because I'm like, oh, well, that's the one thing that I've got that's kind of going against me. I'm actually having to work 8 hours a day. But at the end of the day, that's the one thing that I had to sacrifice in the end and had to take the leave, because otherwise I would have just dropped out. I would have had to have, because it would just, there wasn't enough hours in the day to do what had to be done. So I think that was hard. That was hard. I almost felt like because everyone was hyping up the fact that I was working, that was hard to kind of reconcile in my own head, thinking, Merlin's got this cart that he's carrying, Margie's still working, when it was down to 3, and I tried to, I kind of felt a little bit guilty, but I'm like, well, yeah, you're going to have to do that, or otherwise you can't, you can't be there for your family, you can't run the farm, you can't, so something had to give, and work happened to be it. So that was the sacrifice that I had to make.
So we were challenged by Brady Nankervis at the start of the year to set our goals. And one of Dad's goals was to win this challenge. And you got to day 66. And we've talked about day 66 a lot before. And was this goal in your head when you got to that day? And for people who don't know what day 66 is, I know I'm asking you a couple questions here. What is day 66, and was that goal of winning this challenge in your head, running through your head? What was running through your head?
All right. I think there's a few questions there.
I know. I asked like
I'll
5
try and answer
questions.
as best I can. So day 66, and I'm gonna knuckle down on this. I think we're gonna make commemorative better by next week tops with day 66 down the bottom, because day 66, if anyone doesn't know, if you don't have a name for the moment that you quit and you kept on going past your limit, if you don't know what that feeling is called, call it day 66, because that's what happened to me. On day 66, I quit. I'd had enough. I'd said to myself, I'm not getting up in the morning. I'm not running any more kilometers. And then I made it to day 67. So there is a moment in time where where a part of you quits a challenge or quits on itself, essentially. And it's that moment where you find that spark doesn't completely get quashed. It still has a little, there's like an ember there of fire. It's just, it just wants to light up again. Well, that's what day 66 was for me. And I needed help. You were there. Mum was there. You guys supported me and said, you've got this. You can keep going. I'm like, no, I'm done. Margie said to me, no, there's a fighter in you there somewhere. Keep fighting. And yeah, I made it through. I thought, I've looked back at that moment and thought, what was I saying to myself when I'd quit? I was making up all these reasons why I'd had enough, and they seemed to make sense. But at the end of the day, I come out day 67 and it was like I'd lifted a massive weight off my shoulders, and then decided to go, hang on, I, like Brady said, wrote a contract with myself that I was going to win, that I was going to be the last one standing. And that's not where I am right now. I'm not where I said I was going to be. So I put my big accountability pants on and I went back out there day 67, and it all turned around. It magically turned around. It got better and better. I went from doing 7-minute Ks, 7.5-minute Ks through, days, I think it was like 65, 66, to going back doing 6-minute Ks by day 80. And I don't know, I come back from the dead, essentially.
Now, people might, in their whole lives, might never ever get to experience this moment. And I'm not talking about the moment where you get to the point and you quit. I'm talking about that moment where you quit and you keep going. I love it. I love it because you didn't quit. You essentially, you did not quit. I think that that's the moment where your innate want for something takes over everything in your body, including your mind, and you just do it. So I've kind of lost track of what I was going to ask you, but most people will never ever be able to experience that point. And what do you think? Like, how would you describe it to someone who hasn't experienced it yet? And would you say that everyone needs to experience it?
Oh, yeah, because it's a really fine line. It's a really fine line between, because the feeling feels exactly like a DNF. That's what it felt like. I felt like, this is a DNF. I quit. I'm done. I didn't achieve the thing I set out to achieve. But then it's almost like that moment inside you where you get a second chance. When you feel like, oh, I avoided that. I think this is my second chance at something. So that's what it feels like. So you go from one moment of DNFing and it's the end of the world. It's, that the goal's not going to be achieved because you've said I quit. And then somehow the universe gives you a second chance at something. And that's what it felt like on day 67 and 68. And, I had friends come out, and I had a mate, Chad, come out with me on his bike for day 67 for a few loops and all that. And I talked it out with him. I told him what I was feeling and all that. And I know that this was a running challenge, but it was so much more for me. It was having people around me, supporting me, talking to me, saying, hey, you've got this. It's okay to quit, but we think you've got more. So it's all those things because it's almost like that self-belief system. And I mean, I've got so much self-belief in my own ability I had even before this challenge, my own routines, my own habits and everything. But when you go so deep into the unknown of something that you've never discovered and you've never touched on, then you become as fragile as everyone else, and you understand what everyone else is going through. And that moment where I quit, I felt so fragile, like that person that's never run before, that's scared to go to park run, that's scared to sign up for the 10K fun run. I felt that again, but on day 66. And it was amazing to work through that again and have that feeling. But yeah, it was just, yeah, it's crazy. I don't even know what you asked, but I mean, it was a moment. I tell you what, it was a pretty big moment for me in my life to actually get past that moment, because it was I don't know, it was like this newfound belief in myself and my own ability rose from the ashes of, so day 66, Tim, he died in those ashes, in that fire, and then the new one rose from the ashes on day 67, and yeah, it was just like a new person. It's just so hard to explain. I hope I explained it right, but it's like being given a second chance. So I tried to quit, but I just couldn't. It's like my family and my support network just said, no, you will not quit. Even though you're quitting and I'm saying, no, I'm quitting, you guys, everyone else around me said, no, you're not quitting.
Yeah, that's a hard one to. I have a couple of things in my head I want to say right now, because like King of the Hill, you ended up quitting, but we were saying no, you can't quit.
Yeah.
And I think there's two different no, you can't quit. There's no, you can't quit, and you're gonna stay out there and you're gonna suffer.
Yeah.
And there's no, you can't quit, but it's okay to quit.
Yeah.
It's like that acknowledgement that we love you no matter what. Like
Yeah.
you're no different person
Yeah.
to whether or not you keep going or you quit. You found a limit, and that's okay.
Yeah, I think you touched on something really good there, because remember how we spoke about how I like to be crude, right? You guys did exactly what I like. That moment, you allowed me to make the decision for myself, but you supported that decision. So you didn't dismiss how I was feeling. You didn't dismiss that I wanted to quit, that I was hurting, that I was in pain. Your mum simply said to me as we were walking back to the house that it is okay, but I support you. If you want to continue, I'm here to support your journey. If you don't want to continue, I'm here to support your journey. So it was almost like my excuse didn't have something to rebound off. It just went straight through her, and it just kept on going. So then there were no more excuses. She said, because I'd already built up in my head, I'm putting you guys out, I'm putting your mum out. And she's like, no, I'm going to support you through this. And I'm like, okay, so that's not rebounding back at me. So I'll just, I can't quit now.
You know what I think that is I've been thinking about it a lot recently, and I mentioned it on last week's episode about energy. I don't know why I've been thinking about energy, and I think it's such an important thing in life where it is everything. Energy is everything. Like it makes up life. It's how you feel. And what you described there was you're giving all these excuses, these negative energy, and all these thoughts out. And if mum's going, no, that's fine, right? They rebound right back at you, like you said. And it's almost like it's like bottling. You know how everyone knows the term like bottling something up. Like you're not able to express these feelings, right?
Yeah.
And when when the person is fully in support and they're just placid, and you're just sharing everything, you're letting the bottle loose, you're expressing everything, that energy goes straight through
it
them.
Dissipates.
And it completely disappears instead of rebounding right back in your face.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to explain. I try to find the words for it, but
it's almost like how you spoke about the dog situation. Like if you're not feeling great, you give a dog a hug and it wags its tail, and that negative energy or those negative emotions go away. That it's almost like that. It's releasing that. It's releasing all that, and then I think that that's what ended up happening for me. So, I mean, that's the whole emotional journey, and that's what I got out of the challenge. It was pretty amazing.
That point, though, just coming back to it quickly, that point, do you think the biggest learning is that moment where you're quitting and then you keep going, or is it what you learn afterwards? Like, where's the biggest learning from this? Is it the point that you quit and you keep going, or is it when you finish, or the span afterwards?
I think it's the time that you reflect afterwards. I was very lucky because I got to reflect on it for another 20, almost 20 days, or maybe 16, 17 days. I got to reflect on day 66 and quitting and what that meant to me and what I'd worked through and all that kind of stuff. So I had a very interesting conversation with Merlin post event, and he said to me, and this is the one thing that it really hit me when he actually said this, because it got me thinking about the whole pain thing. And he said, "Oh, I really wanted to. I didn't reach my limit, what I could do physically, and my pain limit and stuff like that." Because he'd quit on day 66 too. Both of us had quit on that same day.
Yeah, actually,
amazingly.
give a little bit of context to everyone.
So yeah,
the behind the scenes of, and this is how beautiful running is, because wait till what Dad tells you about what Margie did.
Yeah, so you imagine me, I'm quitting day 66, but what had happened a few hours earlier was that Merlin had messaged me and said, "My Achilles is blown up. I'm done. I can't run anymore. Good luck with the rest of the challenge." And I'm like, okay, I'm halfway through today, and okay, I should make out the day, but I'm really struggling. I've been struggling for days. This is my out. So I message Margie. I say to her, "Hey Margie, I've had enough. What do you think about calling it so that you can tape it for your event if you want to?" The offer's on the table. And she's like, "Well, I'm not saying that I won't take up that offer, but I'm not done in the challenge, and neither are you." And so she encouraged me to keep going. And I said to her, "Okay, thank you. All the best. I wish you all the best. Good luck on your victory lap tomorrow." And in the meantime, she's gone and messaged Merlin and said, "You've got more in you as well." And she encouraged both of us to keep going. And we ended up being the last two standing. She dropped in the high 70s, but she could have called it then. She could have just not said anything. But that's the beauty of ultra running. That's the community. That's the people in it. And that says so much about who Margie is, to encourage us to keep going. And we broke past that day 66. But that's the thing, and then post event, Merlin and I were having a conversation, and he said that he's spewing that it ended like it did, and he couldn't keep going and stuff like that. He wanted to really reach his physical limit and stuff like that. And it's so funny because we think that our physical limit is the end of the road and that's it. I gave it everything I had, but me and Merlin we'd given it everything we had. Physically, we could not go any further. And yet at the end, he's like, "I wish I'd reached my physical limit." We had on day 66, but we managed to move past it. So it was funny when he said, "I wish I had have reached my," because I messaged him back. I go, "You did, mate. We both did on day 66. We'd reached that physical limit, but we managed to mentally move past it." So that physical limit is not actually the end of your race or your challenge. It's just a part of it where you need to let go of how you feel physically so that you can move on to the next stage.
You know what? It's hard for a lot of listeners because it's unfathomable. Like for me, like I could not imagine being in that point. And I can't speak for you, but how I understand it and how I'm interpreting it is that it isn't even physical at that point. Not whatsoever. It's not even physical unless it's an injury. And it's funny because then you say this physical limit. I don't like it. I think it's just it's not a thing because when you get an injury, what do you say? "Oh, I could have kept going if it wasn't for this injury." You know what I mean? Like you still think that you didn't get to that physical limit. So this physical limit isn't even a thing. Do you know what I mean?
Unless you're injured. What if you're
Unless
injured?
that's what I mean though. Like you, if you get injured and you say, "Oh, like I could have kept going physically if I wasn't injured."
Yeah.
So is this physical limit a thing?
Well, if you can't work out how to keep moving forward and it's stopping you, yeah. Well, that physical thing is a thing. I know it's hard to grasp your head around, especially early days when if any of our listeners are, aren't ultra runners.
This is some hard
Oh
content.
no, we're going pretty deep. We are going pretty deep. I think. Look, I think at the end of the day that you've got to, obviously it's hard because you've got to look after yourself. The signals that your body, and we spoke about this last week, the signals that your body is sending you, you need to listen to them. But there are so many that are being sent that you actually work past it. And I had to work past a hell of a lot of things to reach a state where my body was just running. Because I said it to you when you went out for your bike ride on your run. You went for your bike ride to go for a run somewhere, and I said it to you. You said something to me about mental and this and that, or physical, and I said it's not even. This is easy. Like I was running 70. It might have been like day 79. I'm like, this is easy. There's nothing hard about this running. The running part of what I was doing, none of it was hard anymore. I'd actually let go of everything that was going on. I'm like, well, no, let the body do what it's doing. And it had adapted to a point where it was just so efficient at what it was doing. My stride was perfect. Everything was, in line. I was running at like a 5:45, 6-minute pace at times, looking down at my watch, recording myself running because my heart rate was at 100. And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, no one's going to believe that I'm actually running this challenge. Someone's going to think I'm on a bike. But at the end of the day, the body had, been spent so much time adapting to this perfect state that it could just keep doing this day after day after day. Now, the logistics around me being able to do that for that 8-hour period, now that's what got difficult, obviously, the amount of time to recover, the sleep. Like, I don't think that people, obviously, from the outside, it looked like I just ran for 8 hours. But what it looked like outside of that was not pleasant. Like no one would want to do this and it was probably the last 3 or 4 weeks. And that was, I wake up in the morning, I would grab my bottles and whatever else I needed for the day, and I would head out the front door. I would do my run. You guys had come home from school. I would come inside, and then I would have something to eat. I'd jump in an Epsom salt bath for 20 minutes. I'd get out of that. I'd go for sleep for an hour and a half. I'd get up again. I'd have dinner. I'd have a chat with you guys for half an hour or so. I'd go back to bed. And that would be it. I would interact with you guys for an hour a day. Lucky to be an hour a day. And that was every single day for 3 to 4 weeks. And that's all I could do, so that the 7 to 8 hours of running that I was doing could be easy. Otherwise, it would have been torture. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what you asked, but I think that at the end of the day, that's the sacrifice that I had to make at the end. That's the journey I went on personally, in terms of all the things that had to happen around me. So how about we get into some of the more logistical things? I think that's the whole mental thing. That's the whole
that was
battling through everything. And
I think a lot of people could take a lot from that as well.
Yeah, I think that what we've just spoken about is very philosophical conversation about the whole running side of things and what it meant to me on a deeper level, and what I had to do as a person to make it through. But there were a hell of a lot of things that made it a lot easier. So
nutrition
was a big one.
Huge. I have a little bit of a secret on this one.
Yes, go for it.
So if you want to be the best ever crew person that you can possibly imagine, you need to find ways to be able to trick your runner into thinking they're consuming a certain amount of carbs when really they're not. So you thought you were consuming less carbs than what you actually were. Behind the scenes, was filling your bottle up instead of 2.5 scoops, 3 scoops.
3 scoops of
3
tailwind.
scoops of tailwind. And that's what Dad was drinking.
When at the end there.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And even on some of the earlier days, I'd a little bit more powder in there, and off he
Well,
goes.
it helped. It really helped. I don't think I had too many days where I felt like an energy flatness towards the end, because especially the last probably 10 or 15 days, obviously the load was huge, so it was 8 hours plus a day, but there might have been only a couple of days where it was really, really hot, and I kind of felt like my pace slowed. I couldn't move my legs fast enough, but my energy levels were amazing. And 90% of my nutrition was tailwind nutrition. I was, like you just alluded to, it was 3 scoops of tailwind, 500 ml bottle every hour on the hour. And in the end, what was it? It was like, 3 times 8 is like almost 25 scoops of tailwind a day was what I was consuming. And it was giving me everything I needed. I'd have the occasional snack pack. If I was hungry, I'd have the occasional cookie. I would reward myself with like a Rockaby coffee after, 50 Ks to, get me through the last, 20 or 30 Ks, depending on what the day was. So I did reward myself, but like I said, 90% of my nutrition was tailwind nutrition.
So let's talk the numbers. So people are very interested in, and I've seen a lot of messages about what your like calorie intake was, what your carb intake was. What was your whole idea around that?
Yeah. So early on, the calorie intake was like a fair bit. Like, so when I was still at work, I was having brekkie. I'd go for, say, a 3-hour run, 3 or 4 hour run, depending on the day. So that was when I was in the 30s and 40s. Then I'd go to work. I'd come home. I'd have lunch. Then I'd go to work and I would have a snack. Then I'd have dinner, and then I'd have a bowl of cereal at afternoon smoko. And then I'd come home and I was eating heaps. And all I was doing is focusing on eating. And I even seen that video that you posted of Merlin and I on day 35 when we ran together, and I was still reasonably solid, I thought. So I must have been keeping up the calories. But then as it got further on, from probably the 40s to the 60s, and I was still at work, I was getting nervous, and I was actually getting a little anxious about how much I was eating. So I'm thinking I'm not getting enough in. So I'm like, oh no, I've got to get more in. I've got to get more in. I've got to get more in. And I wasn't feeling great in terms of nutrition. So I ended up getting when I got into the late 50s, I think I started to back it off and said, you know what? If you're hungry, just eat. And I know that I was burning just on the runs anywhere between 5,000 and 6,000 calories just on the runs. So add another 1,000, so probably another 2,000 just for the other 16 hours of the day or whatever. And there is no way that you can replenish that much. So I lost 7 kilos in 4 weeks, and I already didn't have much to lose. So losing that much weight creates its own problems. So you're obviously, one, it's great because you're lighter, you can move faster, but obviously your body's just consuming all its own all the fat that you had. So what's going to happen when that runs out? So I started to get a little bit nervous again, but then I'm like, you know what, just eat to hunger. So I just kept on eating to hunger, and in the end, what ended up happening was that my body was waking itself in the middle of the night, and I was getting up 2 times a night and having like a massive glass of orange juice, and I'd have like a cookie or some corn chips or something like that, or a piece of chocolate. And every single night for the last 3 weeks, I was having 2 meals in the middle of the night because I was just waking. And and it was just, it was what I had to do to make sure that I was getting enough calories on board. And I started, I'd have brekkie. So for my brekkie, I might have a snack pack and a banana. So that kind of got me going most mornings. But yeah, apart from that, that's all I was consuming, and it was enough to keep going.
You got your body in such a repetitious state in terms of what you're eating and what it's just doing in daily life. And now that you're coming back into normal reality and what you have a little bit more fluidity in terms of what you're able to eat and what times you're able to eat. How are you navigating that?
It's actually not been great. My actual body's been, well, my body hasn't been recovering great. In terms of the stats on my watch, I actually feel okay. I've gone for a couple of runs since, and eating food and stuff like that's fine. I've actually felt a little bit unwell in the belly a couple of times. I felt like I've overeaten. I think my stomach might have shrunk a little bit during that time, but a lot of the time I'm, trying to get like liquid nutrition in and stuff like that. And that was happening also during the event as well. I was getting a heap of liquid nutrition in and stuff. And that was pretty good. But yeah, my watch is saying that I'm not getting really good rest, not really good sleeps. I'm still sweating a little bit overnight. Obviously, I think there's still some waste coming out and stuff, so it's not pleasant. But yeah, I think I've got to get back into good habits and things like that. And that's one thing I kind of mentioned on a reel the other day, and that was that you got to look after yourself after events like this, because you can kind of blow out a bit, not in terms of weight or anything like that, but blow out your diet and what you're doing. So try and keep it as similar as you can. Obviously, I can't have 25 scoops of Tailwind just when I'm not running, but you've just got to make sure that you eat good, nutritious food. And I've been trying to stay on top of that.
Getting into the nitty-gritty of things when you were recovering after your runs, supplements is a huge, huge, huge thing that you implemented to help you recover faster in between the days. What was that? What was the layout there? Everything.
Yeah, so I would have like every day I'd come home as soon as I finished 8 hours of running, I would have a Tailwind recovery shake, and I would actually put a scoop of collagen in there as well to help all ligaments and all that kind of stuff. And I would take some creatine as well. So I'd have some creatine, and then I'd have that shake with a couple SPMs. I think I've mentioned SPMs before. They help with inflammation. They're really good with inflammation. So they're like a derivative of fish oil. So I'd have a couple of them as well. And then before bed, I'd have some pill of magnesium. I'd have some horseradish and vitamin C tablets, which help with obviously the sniffles or anything like that. I did end up getting a cold in those mid-60s.
How do you like get through that?
Oh, the cold?
Yeah.
Oh, well, let me finish the supplements. But yeah, so I had the horseradish and vitamin C tablets. I had some more SPMs. I had some fish oil. I had some ashwagandha for snoozing, and that really helped. But yeah, how do I navigate a cold? How do you navigate a cold when you've got to run 8 hours a day? Well, you don't. You don't. The body actually hated me during that time. It was 8 hours of just suffering, because I didn't realize how much your body fights when it's got a cold or a flu or anything like that. I had no idea how much energy it takes for your body to get over that. And I was suffering. So instead of my body helping me get rid of all the waste in all the lactic acid and all the waste, it was actually trying to fight a cold. So I was turning up every day with legs of lead. That's what it felt like. And I was sore because I couldn't flush anything out. I'd hurt my quad. That wasn't getting repaired. Nothing was getting repaired. It was trying to flush out this cold. So I had probably 5 days of just absolute suffering. And in the morning I'd wake up, I have like a Lemsip, which has, which is meant to help your throat and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, aside from that, that's the only way I could battle it. Have some Panadol, have some Lemsip, and try and get through the days. But yeah, that was what the supplements looked like, and I mean that helped. You've got to backfill when you're taking out so much every single day. So yeah, that was nutrition and supplements, and that's what kind of got me through. And I mean, my meals were great. Your mum would make me French toast. I'd have like a big meal for dinner. It'd be like steak and chips or like a massive pasta. And I was just getting whatever I could in, whether it be, some extra fruit. I was having a smoothie with avocado every day. So it wasn't anything fancy, but everything was plus sized. So the smoothie wasn't like a 300 ml smoothie. It was a 1 liter smoothie. the steak wasn't one steak, it was 2 steaks and massive bowl of chips. So there was a lot of extra food that I only had 6 hours to consume it before I went to bed again. So I felt like I was just eating for 6 hours a day.
I know. I was looking over and you looked at my plate. I'm like, what's going on here, Mum?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Dad's running a challenge. I forgot.
Well, yeah, Dad had just ran 8 hours. So
Well, now we're talking about gear. There is a lot of brands out there that are great, and there are some that are awful. Not going to name names, but what worked for you here? Like, run us down from the bottom to top. What were you wearing?
Right.
Everything.
So the best thing about not being a sponsored athlete is being able to say whatever I want and be able to use whatever gear I want to get through the challenge. So for me, shoes, I started off in a pair of Topo Ultraventure 3s and a pair of New Balance Rebel V4s. I absolutely flogged those 2 pairs of shoes. I was going in and out between the 2 of them, and they were fantastic for the early days. Up to about day 45, they were the only 2 pairs of shoes that I used, and I just alternated them. I think that the Rebel V4s, the New Balances, cause some Achilles and calf issues because they are a lot softer compound shoe. And after I flogged them out, I decided to jump into my other Topos, which are the Topo Vistas. Now, I should have jumped into them way earlier because by the end, I had 2 pairs of Topo Vistas and they're so freaking durable. I couldn't believe that I had a look at the tread on them just before, and there is so much tread left on those shoes. It's ridiculous. So durability wise, the Topo Vistas are just amazing, and that was just so comfortable. I had a pair that's a 9.5 and a pair that's a size 10. So obviously on days where my feet had swollen a bit, I'd use the slightly bigger one, and then vice versa. But there were days that I did 3 days in a row in those shoes. So I would have ran, 100 miles in 3 days on one pair of shoes. And if you have a look at those shoes, they've got hundreds of miles left, and they probably got 1,000 to 1,200 Ks on each shoe. So that was me for shoes, the Topo Vistas, and I will not go away from them. Socks, you know what? It didn't really bother me too much. I had the toe socks a few times, the Ninjas. I had the Raleigh socks occasionally. I had my Steigen socks as well. So all 3 brands just worked great. My feet were fine. I lost a few toenails, but that was just inevitable. That was always going to happen. The shorts that we had were your T8 shorts. You can't go wrong with them. Like the pouch and stuff like that. Fantastic. The big thing for me was going to be chafing, and I knew that was going to be an issue. And we were super lucky because for the all-new review last year, Gooch Goo gave us some tins of their stuff, and I used that Gooch Goo every single day, and I did not, through 83 days, I did not have one single chafing issue. That stuff is amazing. So, like I said, we're not sponsored by any of these brands. Which
gives us the freedom.
Yeah, it's just my honest opinion on things that work. Now, the Garmin Enduro was fantastic that you gave me for my birthday after you won it at Last Legend, because this thing just lasted every single day. I think I only charged it a few times over the challenge, which was awesome. And I mean, there wasn't much else that I was really using. That were the big things for me. The shoes were huge. The chafing with the Gooch Goo was fantastic. The shorts, obviously. The shorts are just, they're no fuss. And I had the Commando T8 shorts as well. They were great. So that worked really well. And in terms of tops and stuff like that, I just wear whatever tops, and had our Fractal Better by Next Week hats on and stuff like that. So that was about it. My knock around sunnies, they were great, when on the sunny days and stuff like that. But aside from that was pretty much gear-wise. I kept it pretty simple.
It got pretty hot out there. Was there anything you used to counter that?
Yes, that's right. Nice loaded question there. No, yeah. So halfway through the challenge, I wish I had it at the start when we were in full summer mode, but we had the East Peak ice bandanas. I used the T8 one. That was okay, but
It's
that's
good for
only
like a starter. I would
yeah.
say.
Look, it serves a purpose. It has it has like a little button in there, and you stick some ice in there, and you click the button and you put it over. But it's just a piece of material. Whereas the East Peak Ice Bandana is legit. Like it has the like almost like an esky style thing on top. It's not an esky style thing. It's like an insulation thing on top. So if the sun hits it, it doesn't melt too quickly. But I found I would fill that thing up, and on a 30-degree day, full sun, it would still have ice in it after an hour and 10 minutes. So, and then I mean that's sitting on the top of your back, and it didn't bounce. You just tied it up around your neck. That was pretty good. I was pretty grateful that they came in the mail because they were sold out for ages. So,
is there a piece of gear that you would like to try, knowing what you had to go through? Like, I think to have the freedom of wearing kind of whatever you want, like not being bound by just always wearing T8 shorts to be able to carry something, I would like to see you wearing a naked belt. I would like a naked belt too.
Yeah, I'll buy you a naked belt. I'll buy you a naked belt for being an awesome crew person and supporting me through the challenge. Yeah. All right. How about after this podcast, I'll buy you a naked belt.
Cool.
Look, I don't know. I really liked. You know what? I'll probably buy you a naked belt, and I'll probably buy myself one when that one comes and I see how good it is.
Yeah.
But I actually just like the shorts to run in. So.
There's such good material.
Yeah, it'd be a different story. I think it'd be a different story if I was wearing their shorts and I'm like, oh, these shorts aren't great, but I really like the Sherpa pocket that they have. But they're great shorts regardless. So I don't have I'll be honest with you, I don't have a pair of shorts that I would rather wear and need that naked belt for. So I think that was the big takeaway for me. And we've got like 10 pairs of those T8 shorts and they're fantastic. So yeah, but yeah, ice bandana from East Peak was absolutely fantastic. I like I said, we're not sponsored by any of these guys, but if you get, and they come from all the way from the States, those couples. So, and that's another thing that after you were reading that breath book, and you said that it's really important, nasal breathing is super important. Well, I went and bought some nose strips, and they were okay. But what happened, I found that, and I don't want to name the brand, but I found that I was touching it and like the little threads would come off it and it would tickle, and it would tickle your nose. I'm like, oh, this is a little annoying.
But I don't think they were built for sport as well. I think they were more so for sleeping.
Yes. I think I bought the sleepy ones. And so I was wearing them and that was great. That is a game changer. Nasal breathing is a game changer, but I'm not very good at it because my nostrils weren't as open, so that's why I bought those nasal tape. So that was fantastic. But halfway through the challenge, Goat reached out to us and said, "Hey guys, I know that you're using nasal strips. Do you guys want some?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, send them out. I'm happy to try them." And I was a little bit reluctant because I was happy with the other ones that we had.
Except for the little tickly
thing. Because I knew that the glue didn't react too much to my nose or anything like that, to my skin. And then, Goat sent these nasal strips out and I tried them and I'm like, oh, these are way better. Because theirs is it like a silkier fabric kind of thing. And I chucked them on and game changer. So I really appreciated that they sent that out. And then in the end, we actually reached out to them, and because I had so many people reaching out to me and saying, "Oh, what's the thing on your nose? What's the advantage of it?" And I'm like, "Oh, big game changer. You can breathe more through your nose." It actually relaxed me more. I reckon it was a big part of why my heart rate was so low. So we reached out to them and we asked them, "Hey, look, can you look after our listeners?" And they gave us a 15% discount code, and we'll link it in the notes.
But for now, it's BBNW.
BBNW, yeah.
Better by next week.
Better by next week. So it's just the initial. So if you go to their website, and they'll give you a 15% discount on any of their products. So, which is awesome. We really appreciate that they did that for us. But yeah, we had so many people reach out and they were like, what is that? And I'm like, and then when people did buy them and they were messaging me and saying, "Oh man, big game changer." So
They do, and people are skeptical of these nose strips.
Oh,
They
our whole
don't work.
family was.
Oh, yeah. It's like, no, surely they can't open your nose up, but far out. Please get yourself a pair of nose strips, especially the goat ones, because they're just amazing.
Yeah, they were good. You'll know. Well, yeah, it's funny. You'll
You
know
can't-
when you put them on. You're like, because you're going, oh, those two idiots on the podcast. They think that it's going to make a game. Oh, hang on, maybe they're right. But yeah, it was that was a big game changer for me. I think for during the event, and it was such a small thing as well. So it was important to obviously get all those things right so that I could just keep on going. So that was all from a gear perspective. That was everything that I used. Things that worked, things that didn't work. There wasn't too much that didn't work.
You had to switch to the liquid nutrition throughout your runs a lot more because it was upsetting your gut in terms of like having like your gels or your
I think the
snack
baby
packs or
food,
baby
like the baby food mixed with the maple syrup was great, but I think I couldn't have too much of it because I think it might have just been a little bit too much fiber and things like that. And I figured that this ain't a backyard ultra. It wasn't running for 50 hours straight. It was running for 8 hours. So I think I could get away with the tailwind nutrition, and I did. So that was really great. I think that pretty much covers everything like nutrition and gear wise that I used.
Well, looking at the goals, you've ticked off the first one, and I remember having a conversation with you about it doesn't matter. We don't care if it goes into Sydney's. I believe that everything's supposed to happen for a reason. Everything will fall in place, whether or not you finish this event 2 days out from Sydney's. I think that the goals that you set, you need to keep on completing them. And the first goal that you had to set this year was win this challenge. And you've done that. And it's amazing, regardless of whether or not Sydney's was getting a little bit close. But I kind of gave it away. But what's ahead for you now? Like, it's an amazing achievement what you've done, and really reflect on it. But what is ahead?
Yeah, so obviously I think it's now like 21, 22 days away, 3 weeks away, Sydney Backyard Ultra, and I'm going to be running 100 hours plus there. And like you said, this challenge was getting bloody close to that event, and I would have just steamrolled straight through and not gone to Sydney if the challenge was still going. So it's obviously, I'm pretty accountable. I do things systematically and sequentially. So it's one thing at a time. And if Sydney didn't happen, it didn't happen. But now I've had the opportunity to have a look at what my next 3 weeks looks like. You're going to be helping me taper. You mentioned introducing a little bit more speed back in the legs. I actually did a little quick 5K yesterday, which was good to see that I had some speed. That aerobic fitness was just like, man, it just...
Well, I'm excited to sharpen things up because I think speed is a little bit underrated in backyard ultras.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. But I think it's also like loosening everything up as well. 83 days of running and probably 40 days of slow running, no speed. Obviously it changes you physically.
You have such a big base.
Yeah, I do have a big base, and I don't need to do any more slow running. But I think just getting the legs moving again, staying mobile. I think that's going to be really important ahead of Sydney's, and getting my head around it all as well. I think that preparing myself for Sydney's now is going to be. It's not going to be a mental battle, but it's going to be a mental challenge. So it's going to be all about me going, all right, this is what we're doing mentally. We said that we're going to do this, so that's what we're going to do. And it's all about that preparation, manifesting what's going to happen there. And obviously getting all the logistics and all that kind of stuff around it, which we're pretty familiar with anyway.
And then you're going into Unbreakable.
Oh, man.
What
a year. Who thought of this stupid guinea pig thing? Oh, my God. There's no rest. But you know what? We're just going to try and prove to everyone that the sky's the limit when it comes to doing things. And you've got to obviously listen to your body and see how it's going. And I'm not saying that I'm going to be able to pull all these events off, but at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. And whatever we learn and discover about the body and what I'm capable of, we bring back here and we share. And I think I think, we've covered a hell of a lot of stuff today, whether it be mental, philosophical, gear, nutritional, but all these things are my honest take on what you need to be able to achieve your running goals and just even life goals in general. So, yeah, you mentioned Unbreakable. That's a big goal as well. So that's a big mountain race where you're looking for books in the forest. So if anyone wants to join me there, apply to do that race on Trails Plus, because it's going to be a hell of a few days, and it's
and they don't have too many people doing it. So that's the thing. Like, we need more people. Like, it's such a great event, and we wouldn't be like banging on about it if it wasn't
like for me. It was a life-changing event. When I did it with the guys that I did it with, it was an amazing event, and it's nothing to be like. I know there's a little bit of navigation and stuff like that, but it's nothing too serious. I think if you want to have a really awesome experience that's not your traditional point-to-point ultra, this is it. This is like a little bit of orienteering, but you get the ultra side, and then you get the gritty, what am I made of side of, you really discover who you are in these kinds of events. So that's the King's birthday long weekend. So I look forward to seeing anyone that wants to be. I'll be there. I'll run with you. I'll give you any advice. Reach out. I'm always happy to help out. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that event. And then the rest of the year, well, we'll talk about that down the track, but let's one thing at a time.
Yeah, one thing at a time. Okay, you've got another theory.
Yes.
You don't have a quote.
I don't. So, and you know what? I think I might roll with my theories for a little while until someone says, Tim, we want to hear some quotes. So I do have a theory. And this bounced around in my head for probably the last 3 weeks of the challenge, where it was post day 66. But I have a theory on achieving your goals. So a lot of people reached out to me and said, how are you running an ultra marathon back to back to back to back like this mentally? How are you preparing yourself mentally for the next day? Because I can understand, looking from the outside, someone's looking at me doing 80 Ks, and then they see a little reel of me going, day 80, and I'm all pumped. I was pumped every day because I knew that all I had to do was just run the next day. I didn't think about what else I had to do because I'd taken care of all that. So in terms of what I mean by I took care of it all, I have this theory that if you've got the thing that you want to achieve, say for me, it was day 82. Day 82 meant I had to run 82 kilometers. So the goal is run 82 kilometers. Now, if I think about what obstacles there may be for me not to complete that day 82, there might be the stress of work. There may be, I've got an Achilles complaint. I've got to get back in time for this. I've got to do this. So all those things that you stack on top of it, you start to realize that you can no longer see the goal because there's so many things stacked on top of it. So what I managed to do towards the end was take away all those obstacles by obviously taking some leave from work, making sure that my nutrition was right the day before, making that sure all those things. And there was nothing stacked on top of doing 82 kilometers. So all that was left for that day to do was run 82 kilometers. So I didn't think about any obstacle. I didn't think of any niggle. I didn't think I had taken care of all the business that needed to be taken care of so that goal could happen. And I think that with a lot of things in life, that's what ends up happening. Your goals and your dreams get covered up by all the obstacles that you put on there. Some things are excuses. Some things are reasons to actually to say, hey, look, that goal and that dream may not be achieved anymore because it's just not what you're into or whatever it is. But it's your ability to unstack all those things. And then how often, right, do you find, right, that when you've got a goal and then you take a couple of things away and you can start to see that goal again. And you start to get a little bit more excited because now there's not 10 things stacked on top of it. there's two things stacked on top of it. And those two things might be, I've just got to put some time aside. Oh, okay, I'll put some time aside. Or I'll make sure that I've got my nutrition right so I can get through that day. Because it's all those things and it's all the problem solvings that you do to achieve that goal. So often people go, I can't run 10Ks because I'm not fit enough. I don't know what nutrition. I don't know how much water I'm going to have to take. I don't know whether my shoes are going to do the trick for this. I don't know whether, I'm going to stop. Like, they're all the obstacles. So stop thinking about all those things. And then what will end up happening is that the running, the thing that you want to do, is the only thing left to do. And that's how I got through day by day by day. So my theory is that, if you're able to take away all the obstacles, all the excuses that you create, and I'm not being judgy at all because there are excuses and reasons not to do things. This is my personal opinion on what I did and how I managed to get to the next day every day. And that's all it was for me. I just took all those things away. I don't know whether it's easy to understand or whether I've just been running for too long, but I think that making it simple for yourself to achieve your goal is the key here.
There's a quote that, I don't know the actor, it's the actor that plays Doctor Strange in the Marvel series, and he's up on stage talking about it. And I think it does have a couple of swear words. I might put it up. It's fine, but it's all around just doing the thing. And that's, I think, what you're trying to explain there. So taking away everything that really doesn't matter and just doing the thing.
Yeah.
Because if you're so worried about everything else, you're not even going to be able to do the thing.
Yeah.
And so, and I think I'll show you later and I'll put it up on the screen because, what he says is just amazing.
I found that, and I had this conversation with your mum this morning, and she said, it's not that easy. And I completely understand because it's not that easy because I had to take 3.5 weeks off work. So it's like, how important is that goal to you? If it's really important to you, I knew being the last one standing at this event would change my life. Not outwardly, like from the outside, getting attention or anything. I knew inwardly, inside, I would change. So that's why it was important to me. That's why I was willing to take every bit of work leave that I had to stay in the challenge, because I knew that if I said that I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to finish it, and I did finish it, that I would grow more than what the costs were. So it was selfish because you guys had to help me along the way. But now I can repay what I learned and I can share what I've learned from that experience. And I think that the sacrifices and everything else was worth it. What do you think?
Yeah. I think that's how you want to get at that point. You want to get to almost at the end of your life as well, is that everything that you sacrificed was worth it in the end.
And I've got one last thing to say. I want to walk back a comment that I made to you a couple of weeks ago on the podcast when you looked at me and said that you're going to be the Western States champion and you're going to do it. And I was questioning you like, well, what if it doesn't happen? And you're saying, no, but it is going to happen. And I'm like, oh, you're so naive. You're so young. I actually want to walk that back because the only reason that I managed to finish this challenge was because I believed that there was no other option but to finish this challenge and be the last one standing. And your young naivety taught me that I've also got that in me. And I took that on board towards the end and thought, no, why not me? It's going to be me. Because at the end of the day, there has to be one person that wins Western States. There has to be one person that is the last one standing. And why not me? Why can't it be me? So if you have complete blind faith that it's going to be you, I think that it is going to be you. In that moment, I reckon that if that is your dream and that is what you want, then just keep going full steam ahead and just do that. And that's who you're going to become because there is no other option.
Because there is a part of me where it's like, I can't see a world like that.
That's right.
I just can't see a world like that. It's impossible.
Yeah.
And that's not to say if I don't get it, it's like my life is over. I'm going to get it. So it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. But the thing is, and and that's exactly how everyone should, go straight into any challenge. But the kicker of it all is that if it doesn't eventuate, it's not the end of the world. But let's just go with it's going to happen, and we'll worry about the other stuff later, because that's the one thing that I found that on that goal, you know how I said to you with my theory that you stack all these things on, right? That was the last thing that was stacked on my goal to be the last one standing, was what happens if it doesn't happen? And then when I took that away, all that was left was to be the last one standing. And I think that that's what's going to happen with you with Western States and anything else that you do. So I'm going to walk back what I said on that podcast.
Well, don't quote me on this, but you can't start a new chapter in your life if you keep rereading the old one. Now, this has come to me, and there's a lot of takes you can have on this in terms of like learning from mistakes or just reliving your past. But the thing I want to really talk about here is the fact that I got so consumed in a world of, that session didn't work out last time. It's not going to work out this time. And that's what relates to this quote is I'm living in my past, and it doesn't even matter what happened before. It's what's happening now. And am I going to do something about it? Yeah, I'm going to do something about it. I'm not going to dwell on what happened in the past. And that's something that a lot of people do. They dwell on the past, and it hinders their performance in the future because, yeah, it's like,
Do you reckon they're stuck in like old patterns?
Yeah.
And they're like thinking, this is what I used to do and I got this good performance, so I'll just keep doing that. And that's not where growth is. Growth is moving past all those things, learning from those things, and then just going, how can I improve on that? Because I think we're always seeking to improve, aren't we?
And you also you don't know, this is me trying to add on to this quote. you can't predict what the next chapter is going to be if you haven't already read the one that's in front of you.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. So you got it. What is it? So it's being present in the moment, isn't it? I like that. Good on you. How about we get into our challenges?
Challenges.
All
I
right.
want to go first.
You want to go first?
Yeah, so Dad mentioned before about how he's going to taper and he's just going to keep moving and everything. So my challenge for you this week and everyone else is to move every day. Do an activity. And specifically for you, is I want you to get on that darn bike that you paid for and you haven't ridden it once. The only time you've ridden that Zwift bike is when you've set it up, and that was for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So I need you to ride on that, and we're going to structure a little bit of a tapering plan around you. But for everyone else, just keep moving. It's the best thing you can do for your body. Every day, do a little thing every day.
Yep.
Because like Dad said before, literally, he added 1 kilometer each day, and it eventuated to this great thing. And if you think you can just go, bang, 82 Ks in one day, you can't do that. It's just not going to happen. So adding little things each day will get you to that point. And if you're looking at Dad right now and going, wow, I really want to aspire to be that, which I'm sure many are, it's taking the small progressive steps to get there. And that's doing one little movement of activity each day.
Yeah, and doesn't matter how small it is.
Doesn't matter how small it is.
No, I think I'm going to get on that Zwift bike because I want to keep my aerobic fitness, but I also want to take any sting out of the legs. I want them all to recover, and well, the 2 of them that I've got to recover. So yeah, okay. So my Better by Next Week challenge for you and our listeners is to look at your goals, and they can be. It doesn't matter. I want you to go on your main goal and whatever it is, right? And I want you to unstack the stuff that you've put on top of that goal and why you're not achieving it, why you're not striving for it, why it can't happen, right? I want you to write down that goal, and then I want you to write down all the things next to that goal that you've stacked and you got to be honest with yourself, right? Why you're not achieving that goal. And that could be, your goal might be to, buy something, to start do a course or something like that. It may be any of those things, and why you're not doing it. It might be run a race, right? So, for example, if it's I want to run a half marathon, right? Have a look at all the reasons why you're not doing it. You're not moving in that direction, and it may be I don't have the right shoes. So write that down. Don't have the right shoes. And so you write all those things down in a list, and then look at that list and look at what's really, relevant to that and so if you're like, I don't have carbon plated shoes, well, you can still run 21 Ks. Take that out. So take all the things all the excuses that you're creating, take all them out, and everything else that's left, move it into on the next page and have it as a heading, and then write down what you need to do for that to no longer be the reason why you're not achieving your goal. So you might be left with 10 things, and then there's your to-do list. Get rid of those 10 things, and then the only thing that's left is the half marathon or whatever it is that you want to achieve. So I want people to try that as an exercise. I'm sure that this is an actual thing somewhere, but
it sounds very profound and great.
It
makes sense.
So it's all. I think when you write things down, you can actually see it and you can actually plan things out, and it actually makes sense in your head. Because often, if you've got this thing that you want to achieve, and there's 10 reasons why you're not achieving it, but you've got 10 different plans for it, like it makes it pretty hard. So I think if you do it that way, I reckon that you'll find a way to achieve that goal that you really want to achieve.
That's a great way to end the podcast.
Yeah, let's end it on that. I think we've spoken about the challenge a fair bit. I hope people learn a lot from my experience. There's going to be a lot of reels that I'm going to share, and Ollie as well, over the coming weeks. I'll show some of the stuff with the shoes, some of our nutrition stuff, some of the things that worked, some of the things that didn't work. And if you do have any questions, just post them up, send us a message, and we'll let you know. We are trying to unearth a lot of the things that we don't understand through the whole guinea pig experience. And if we can help others through me doing it first, then we've achieved our goal, essentially.
To get better together.
Yeah, that's right.
Each week.
Yeah.
So crush your runs this week, because just do it.
Yeah, just get out there, crush your runs. Good luck with the challenges. Let us know how you went. And just remember, the Strava Arc competition is still open with Unbreakable and King of the Hill. We do have some epic ones coming. We do have the Strava Arc guy jumping on board. He's jumping in contact with us, and so it's going to be interesting to see what he comes up with. But have an awesome week, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
See you later.
Catch ya.